Hello, and welcome to Unexplain It to Me.
Where we unexplain religious dogma.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Dan.
How you doing today, Dan?
Hanging in there. It's Monday. Not the best, but we're here.
So, I heard this weekend you went to the casino.
Yes.
Are you a gambling man?
Lord, I was born again. Yeah. No.
You are?
Yeah, I do.
No?
I have some major issues. It's the impulsivity part of stuff that I'm working on in therapy. However, it extends from food, which is dangerous.
Yeah, right.
Because you spend a little money on food, but you can spend a lot of money on a slot machine. Yeah.
Well, good news. Today we're talking about gambling, but it doesn't involve money.
Oh.
Talking about Pascal's Wager.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with that?
I've Googled it once.
So this should be a fun conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, made by Blaise Pascal, who lived in the early 1600s, and his whole thing was a rational person is wagering their life, an eternal life, on whether or not a God exists. So if God exists and you believe, you win. If God exists and you're wrong, if God exists and you're wrong, you get eternal torture, which is a lose. Basically, there's like two neutral spots where you come out. So there is no God, you don't believe in God, nothing happens. So knowing that, what have you heard is all wrong with that wager?
Honestly, I haven't actually heard a lot wrong. When I was trying to pick my brain, I saw that the top few answers in Google as to what it is are there good arguments and what's wrong with it, things like that. But myself, I haven't delved deep enough to know the cons, I guess, of it.
Yeah, so I'll get you up to speed here. There's a few small things that we'll go over first. First of all, it doesn't prove a God exists. It's basically saying, do you want to be on the bed end of this bet?
Yeah.
It provides no evidence for a God. It just wants you to believe just to believe, which leads us to the second small problem, is that belief is not a choice. Either you're convinced or you're not convinced. Like, you're not going to believe just to believe. Thirdly, is one of the options is if you believe and lose, you lose nothing. But as we've kind of talked about in other podcasts, the time going into church and the tithing and who you are as a person compared to who, like, you do lose something by believing. Mm-hmm. Finally, the biggest issue with it is that it does not account for other religions. It kind of assumes that, like, the Christian God is the only God.
I guess you could use it in multiple religions, though, right?
But I think the reason why it's bad is some religions don't have a heaven and hell.
I mean, yeah. I guess I would say
so
it could be in place of anything with eternal joy or eternal damnation, but not everything is that doesn't exist for everything.
Yeah, it's assuming there is or is not a God when there are religions that do not have a God, and there are religions with multiple gods. Like it doesn't account for that, and it's saying like you're betting your life on this one thing.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
I don't know about you, but I heard it a lot growing up, especially like when a family member started to question. I know it was something that my parents used a lot. It was saying like, oh, well, you should just to believe, because if you're wrong, if you're right, which is a pretty crappy way to go about things.
Yeah. Can you imagine your whole belief system is on just a scare tactic, I guess, if you think about it? Like,
yeah, exactly.
That's the whole reason to be on that team, is to not have eternal damnation. Like,
right?
What?
It also brings up the whole how lucky you are to be born into the right religion to begin.
Yeah, right. You're born into the right continent, basically.
Yeah, so you better believe, because you're already lucky.
Mm-hmm. Oh, good God.
And as a Christian, I know after I heard it once, I definitely used it when I argued with people, because it's like,
oh yeah,
it makes sense. And then you start to realize, there's other religions and other ideas of what happens after you die. And
I mean, you doesn't cover all of
them.
I don't think a lot of these people think or believe that.
No, and that's the thing.
Yes,
it wasn't until after I did some pretty deep questioning that I figured out, like, oh yeah, that's actually a really bad reason to use against someone.
Yep.
So, in this day and age, is Pascal's Wager useful?
It's for getting out of
For
religion, or just in general, or like.
I guess what I was trying to get at is kind of the way I used it.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
should someone believe purely based on the reasoning and
Those four squares, if you're either.
yeah.
Yeah.
So should
I mean,
someone just take the winning bet?
I'm clearly biased, is the problem.
Yeah.
At this point. But in all honesty, I think no. That's kind of a sort of a cop out in my eyes. Like,
Yeah.
so you're telling me you think, the world could be without, but you're basically just scared. I mean, I can't lie. That's how I felt when I was like, am I actually Christian? Do I believe? Am I scared I'm going to go to hell? Blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all that stuff, I guess, in a sense, was Pascal's Wager without me thinking about it. Like, do I just believe it still and
roll with it? Or...
yeah, and just apparently lie to myself forever just in hopes of going to heaven? But I mean, like,
yeah.
And it comes back to me, the whole cringy Facebook post was like, what's the point of...
You've had some good ones lately.
We probably got a whole series, maybe a year's worth of weekly stuff on those.
Yeah, all the on this day 10 years ago.
It's it's bad.
It's pretty bad. It's almost as bad as my yearbook quote, but
yeah, I can whip them out sometime. We can share sometime too.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, so I guess in my thought process is like that was kind of what I really banked on, was just forcing myself to believe. It makes sense now. Even the statement I made on this stupid post makes sense. On the flip side of where I am now is, why would you want to go to heaven if it's all about Jesus or God? Like, if God is just out there murdering millions and the Old Testament, and then I'm lucked out and not born into malaria, deadly diseases in another continent, like, why did I luck out? Why did he allow that? So I guess in a sense I don't want to be a part of that, I guess.
Yeah.
And what hell is described as being not having that love from God. Well, if I don't experience it now, what's hell to me? It's just another day in my life. Yeah, it's not like, so.
I've got a whole other podcast about it, but hell is not really mentioned too often in the Bible, at least not the Old Testament. And Jewish people actually view hell very differently than Christian people, because the New Testament, Jesus, and some of the other books also give depictions of it that normally weren't attributed to it, but were to just make it seem more similar, so that people wouldn't want to go there.
Yeah.
So what I was getting at, I don't think any modern apologist really uses Pascal's Wager now. At least they don't use that name. Mm-hmm. But I still think they sneak it in the way that you were saying, how it's like, do you really want to go to hell? Like, whether or not there's a God, do you really want to go to hell? Things like that.
It's like a scare tactic, like, they won't come out and say it. I mean, maybe not many these days, but I'd be surprised if
exactly.
Wasn't.
They know Pascal's Wager itself has been debunked,
mm-hmm.
and it's no longer valid, but they still use that same line of reasoning, like, oh, you have nothing to lose, or oh, you don't want to spend eternity there.
Yeah, so just accept God into your heart, because apparently that's all you have to do is ask, and it's done. So I guess, just go on a murder spree, and as soon as you fall to the ground, just be like, God, please forgive me, and boop, you're right up there with
Christian morals.
Yeah. Yep.
And this is another question that comes up pretty often with Pascal's Wager. Do you think an all-knowing God would allow people salvation just for picking the bet with the most likely good outcome?
Wait, what?
Like, if God knows everything and he knows you're believing just to go to heaven and not to go to hell.
How are you going to fool him? That's the whole point of, like, you see these, like, short clips of pastors and stuff, like, you can't fool God. It's like, okay, well, all you told them to do was just believe for a second. How do you trust their beliefs when you're out there just freaking committing adultery and, not living a righteous life yourself with all that money from your mega church? And it's all projection. And in the end, that's all it comes down to, is straight up projection.
I think it would be pretty foolish of God to just allow people in for saying, like, oh, yeah, I didn't want to spend eternity there, so I'm with you. Instead of like, because the whole point of it is, like, to have a relationship and to love Jesus and stuff like that. So if you're just like, oh, yeah, I can fake that just to get into the right place, I don't think an all-knowing God would be too cool with that,
Yeah.
And kind of on that same topic, I know Matt Dillahunty brings it up a lot, but he's like, if God is real and he has to go through all my sins and ask me why I didn't follow, he's like, I think God would be more appreciative of someone who's honest. Like, there wasn't good enough reasons to. I didn't see the evidence. I was searching. Like, I tried to find what I could. I think a God would be more likely to appreciate someone like that. Maybe not necessarily let them into salvation, but appreciate someone like that over someone who's like, oh yeah, I'm not going to hell. I'm just following you so I can get into here.
Yeah, and also, like, this isn't the God we're talking about because this is a wrathful, jealous, angry person.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
the jealous God.
I don't know. It just doesn't line up with everything. Like, if it was a straight up just someone who went out of their way, intervened to make the world a better, like, why would you make creation and then just sit back for 6,000 years? I'll humor them. Damn. AIDS is bad. Slavery's bad.
When should I intervene?
I'm gonna take a nap for the next 2,000 years. Like, just give me I'm tired as hell right now. Like, do not. Satan ruined my plans. Lucifer he really messed everything up, and I'm taking a snooze. Don't wake me up, archangels. And how does God face somebody in the Holocaust? How do you do that?
Right. How do you go, did you live a good life? And it's like, I was murdered by Nazis.
Yeah, in a gas chamber. Like, dude, what? Like, I mean, it might be debunked or whatever. Like, the quotes that were in concentration camps. Like, if there is a God, he'll have to ask for my forgiveness. Like,
yeah,
because of how brutal and horrific things are. But again, I'm sure that was said, and I guess I don't know the full context, but it makes full sense. Like,
I remember when I was younger too, I had a church leader and we were talking about some passage out of the Old Testament. I'm like, wait, so the Israelites, the Jews, are God's chosen people, but you have to accept Jesus Christ to get into heaven? I was like, what's going to happen to all the Jews who are like doing the best they can? And he's like, well, what does it take to get into heaven? And I was like, well, you have to love Jesus. He's like, yep. And that was like the end of the...
Yeah.
Like, I don't even think he understood what I was getting at. Like, dude, all these people...
I think the whole basis of Judaism is that a Messiah hasn't even came back yet. At all. Like, so...
Yeah, no, they're still waiting.
So if Jesus is the way, and God loved those people, he threw them a bone to suffer, and Jesus wasn't the one... Like, just the reasoning...
Yeah.
Like,
well, to get back on track here... Last question I've got. This is not a serious question, by the way, for forewarning. What do you think Christians will do when they get sent to the hell of another religion?
Dude, it's going to be wild.
Or when they come back as a naked mole rat because they were a crappy
sins.
Human being to other humans.
Yeah, of their that's their repentance and reincarnation.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably karma, I guess. At least in the second part.
Yeah,
for the first one.
I don't believe in either of those, but something to think about if you think Pascal's Wager is legitimate.
Yeah, there's some people that deserve to come back as, God, I don't know, a blobfish.
Much worse than naked mole rats is what you're trying to say, right?
Yeah. That'd be a blessing for some of these people. But, I don't know, going to another... Yeah, I guess better hope you've heard of them, because if not, you got a lot of talking about.
Yep, you need to add some more squares to your Pascal's Wager and really calculate which one's the best bet, because looking at just one religion, I don't think you get the whole picture. I think you need to list all the religions, all the heavens and hells, and all the possibilities with what happens to each. And I think you really need to do the research and go through all of those before you decide to believe in Jesus Christ.
Just put me in those new things where they cremate you and put you into a tree, and I'm fine. Give me 30 years before they cut me down. I'm good. Call it a day. How about you? What are your thoughts when they get sent to another place?
Oh, I think I'd be pretty upset with God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good conversation.
Exactly.
Like we're
not going to be perfect all the time. You got to just enjoy the random stories.
It is what it is. Mind. It's only going to get worse the more podcasts we make. Like the first one was like right on track. The second one was, right on track with a little bit of detours. And then here, friggin', I don't even know why I write questions. Some of these are going to get pretty out there.
I steamroll half the time, and then you get a 3-minute rant about Facebook. So, it's
going to happen here. It's going to happen here.
Exactly.
Well, religion teaches us that we are broken and evil, and only through a deity can we be who we were meant to be. But I just want you to know that you are not broken, and you are not evil. You are doing your best figuring out this confusing world, and it's okay to have questions and to change your beliefs and admit you don't always have the answers, because you are not alone.